Two 12-year-old girls seriously attacked their best friend repeatedly. Not out of anger, not out of fear, but because something online convinced them it had to be done. This is wild and disturbing on so many levels. She was 12, so were her best friends. They lived in a city called Waukesha, Wisconsin. Quiet streets, normal school, normal families. Nothing about this place suggested what was coming. That's why what happened next stopped everyone cold. The two girls were Morgan and Anissa. Like millions of kids, they spent time online, reading stories, watching videos, falling down rabbit holes like we all do. But one story stuck. The story was about Slender Man. He's tall, faceless, said to live in forests, said to punish disobedience. To most people, it was obvious fiction, but to those 12-year-old girls, it felt very real. They believed he was watching them, they believed he could harm their families, and it didn't let go. And they believed they had to prove loyalty to him so that wouldn't happen. There was a third girl. Her name was Peyton. Also 12, also friends with Morgan and Anissa, and completely unaware she'd been chosen. Morgan and Anissa came to believe a sacrifice was required, and they chose Peyton. This wasn't impulsive. They talked about it for weeks. They'd rehearsed it. Morgan brought a weapon from home. They planned it the way kids plan a sleepover, which, at first, is exactly what it was. So the next morning around noon after the sleepover, they walked to a nearby wooded park. It was quiet, familiar, empty. That's where the incident happened. Morgan took out the knife and used it 19 times on Peyton. Anissa watched. Peyton was seriously hurt, then just left behind. They went. Morgan and Anissa believed they had done what was required. But Peyton was still alive, badly injured, barely conscious. A cyclist passing by saw her, stopped. He called for help, which arrived quickly. Doctors later said that the timing here mattered. She survived, she lived. Morgan and Anissa didn't run, they didn't hide, they didn't hurry. A few hours later, police found them walking a couple of miles away from the park. When officers stopped them and asked them what had happened, they explained everything. No panic, no anger. They said the story told them to do it. They said they were scared of what would happen if they didn't listen. During the investigation, police found Morgan's handwritten journal, and it showed how deeply the belief had taken hold long before that day. It wasn't a diary in the usual sense. It wasn't about school or friends. It was filled with drawings, shapes, references to Slender Man, pages about loyalty, about punishment, about being watched. There was even a checklist for the day after the sleepover. It's chilling. These girls were 12. It showed this wasn't a sudden idea. Both girls were formally charged, but later ruled mentally ill. Instead of prison, they were placed in psychiatric care. Anissa was released in 2021. Morgan is still confined. Peyton survived. This wasn't really a story about a monster. It's a story about belief and what happens when fiction becomes authority. Because the character wasn't real, but the consequences most definitely were. And that's why this story isn't remembered as entertainment. It's remembered as a warning. Until next time.